Channel, the Car Guy Channel. My name is Mike Hennessy. This show is all about cars and all four car guys. Get yourself a cold beer. Get yourself a cold beer, guys, because our show is... We are smoking! I'm Mike Hennessy, and you're watching the Car Guy Channel. I have an auto repair shop. I've been in the business for over 30 years. You name it, we got it, we built it, we've done it, we do it. We love this car stuff, and I hope you guys do too. We're gonna have a lot of fun, got a lot of stuff cooking, so just stay tuned.
Welcome to Antique Autos.
Welcome to the Car Guy Channel there, guys and gals. We got a fantastic show. Once again, we're over at History Park looking at the antique autos. Now, this year here, they're doing something a little bit on the special side. This year here, they're featuring, and marquee is the truck. The truck of basically the turn of the century before 1942. They got some stuff here that's absolutely spectacular. There's a rumor here, there's actually one of the Ford dealer trucks that used to be a tow truck. Haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's absolutely spectacular. Very cool vehicle and a lot of good stuff out there. Hey, two things you don't do. Don't touch that dial. Get yourself a cold one. I was real excited being a truck guy. I love trucks. Guys like trucks. Everybody likes trucks. We love trucks. We found out that they're going to go ahead and be the featured vehicle here at History Park at the Antique Classic Car Show. And when this thing here pulls in, I thought that was just extremely exciting and very cool. You just don't see them every day. And because they didn't make very many of them, there was only, I think, 521 built of them, and they were only allocated to 4 dealers. So there's not very many of them in the country. And seeing one like this is spectacular. So seeing one here at this show, this is a very rare automobile. And I'm going to just still go around the camera on this one and check this here out. I'm going to go find the owner, and we're going to learn a lot about it. Told you I'd find the owner to this truck hanging around because you're talking about the truck. Is that right?
That's it.
I bet you could come here and talk all day about this truck.
I get questions all day long about it.
Hey, I'm Mike Hennessy.
Hi, Rich Hershey. Nice to meet you, Mike.
Rich, nice to meet you. I thought you brought one of the most unusual vehicles here. I kind of knew a little bit about it, but obviously you are you know the holy grail here. But like 521 of them were built.
That's what Ford built, yeah.
And Ford built really only for Ford dealers.
Ford dealers to their network of dealerships throughout the country. They wanted each Ford dealer to have a tow truck in their service department to increase their sales. You know, they could tow in cars.
Yeah, no, did these have anything special done with the motor to make them a little bit more, you know, powerful, or is it pretty much the same engine?
It's the same as a car, 40 horsepower. But
40 horsepower. I saw a guy turn his head around as we're talking. 40 horsepower. Today, that would just be wow.
That's amazing because the evolution of the 4-cylinder motor.
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt. Now, what makes this vehicle here really unusual?
Well, it's the towing part of it, and it is a fairly local car or truck because it was built in the San Francisco plant where the new Giant Stadium now stands.
Yeah, very good.
Because that was a deep water port where Ford could get their barges in and stuff to deliver stuff. They built pretty much all the Model Ts for Northern California were built there.
There's just so much history. You know, that's what this whole event's about, really history.
Yes.
And I mentioned earlier, when they decided to bring trucks into this as a featured vehicle, that's pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, that was one of my ideas, actually. They were like, what do you think about for next year? I said, let's do trucks.
We like it, Alan. We got a guy in the team that's thinking for everybody.
Yeah.
Now, how many of these really are out there?
Well, there's only like 8 or 9 known to exist. There's a AA, they call them AA Model A trucks registry, and there's 8 or 9 of them known to exist, and this was one of the few.
Well, it's pretty cool though, because Ford was doing a lot of stuff in 1930 when changes were just ready to hit. Edsel was kind of on a roll to make changes and try to pull the Model T away from his dad, and that was a chore itself, guys and gals, if you know anything about the history of Ford. But everything in this whole truck is all custom, one made for one vehicle.
Exactly.
Fenders, the bed, I mean, the whole 9 yards. Now, how does the winch actually operate? Is that hydraulic? I mean,
it's
mechanical?
all manual.
All manual.
You see the holes in the side of the bed. They had cranks that inserted in there. One works the up and down of the winch, and the other one winches in the cable.
So this is all manual labor.
Very manual.
What they really like at a lot of these events is when they actually have cutaways or display vehicles, display motors, kind of to really give you an idea really what's underneath there. And this happens to be a 1930 Ford truck chassis. You see how big and fat and thick this channel is on this frame, and it's a straight frame all the way from front to back. And just to show you a few little things on it that they were still doing in 1930 for a vehicle that would have this size of a leaf spring, which is monstrous. This is huge. This is truck leaf spring without a shadow of a doubt. And these pieces right here, these perches that hold the leaf spring, the steel is so thick and this is thick, could actually hold basically the weight that they're going to go put in here. But here's the thing that kind of got to me being a 1930 vehicle. And I'm going to show you right here. This car still had mechanical brakes. So this thing did not have hydraulic brakes like obviously we have today, almost in every car out there on the road. And Ford didn't put mechanical brakes until a year or so later, but 1930 on up or down were all mechanical brakes. And that's how this thing here stops. So there's no master cylinder, there's no lines or nothing to stop this. But they seem to find a way to make it work. What's kind of neat, it's just sterile as it gets. And all the drive shafts in these cars, drive shafts are inside the tube. They're not exposed like they are in the later cars, 40s, 50s, 60s, obviously 70s and 80s and 90s, the cars that had front engine or rear wheel drive. But the drive shafts were exposed with a U-joint on either end. But these right here are coupled right there, how it goes into the back of the differential, all the way to a little universal, which is right up here, right into the transmission, but they had to make it long enough for a truck. So this is just one heck of a display that you see out here at the show. I just love seeing. You can see the 40 horsepower 4-cylinder motor, and this right here is a flathead, obviously, but just a really nice display, and it's kind of neat to see it out here. These trucks are outstanding. My good buddy Joe leaned over to me and goes, this almost looks like something that would be kind of a toy. But no, this is the real deal. This is what they used back in the early teens and the 20s. And Granite Rock, they always have a lot of very interesting things, and they're an old company that's been around a long time and a good company. And they go ahead and bring a lot of their vehicles. We had one of their cement mixers on our show one time back in the 30s that was built. But this is a 1928. And what's a little interesting about 1928, take out your pencil, take out your paper. This is going to be a little bit of a a little bit of a test for you cruiser guys. This right here, 1928 was the first year really that the federal government started to mandate a little bit about how cars were built and what they really had to put into them. And Ford really had mechanical brakes back in those years, and some of the higher end cars went to, the term was juice brakes, which would be hydraulic brakes, and a lot of the bigger cars always had 4-wheel hydraulic brakes, big sales point and whatnot. Well, Ford really didn't move into that. But until 1928, mandated by the federal government, all cars had to have front brakes on their car. It could be mechanical, hydraulic, whatever it took, but you had to have front brakes and, of course, rear brakes. What they were trying to say is they want brakes on all 4 wheels on the vehicle. That was number one. The second one they had to have is a front bumper. All these cars had to have a front bumper. That's the way they had to be sold and had to have them on. Some people took them off. They didn't like them, whatever it may be, but they had to have a front bumper. And here's kind of the crazy thing, which you think would be the obvious of obvious. Cars had to have a rear view mirror. So you got bumpers, you got front brakes, and you have a rear view mirror. I'm telling you, what goes on today is a little bit different. Seat belts to sew on and airbags and horns and you kind of name it. But the simplicity of this is just fantastic. And when you take a look at something like this again, you see the heavy leaf springs, and these are big 5-lug bolt-on wheels with huge spokes that hold these wheels. And it wasn't until later on that they went to a solid disc wheel. And we'll go into that when we see a couple of the vehicles here at the show. But what a great display on this stuff, and it's really pretty cool. Nice truck. Dean, how you doing? Mike Hennessy.
Dean Meltz.
Dean, nice to see you. There's something about, I know people that watch the show and all that, there's something about being a survivor. A car or anything is only original once.
Yes, I agree.
And this here is really cool.
Thank you.
Kind of one of my favorites because you really see the reality of how things were built, how it was put together, and you drove this thing in.
I did, from San Leandro.
San Leandro.
Yeah, 34 miles away.
How fast this thing goes?
Oh, it cruises nicely at 30 to 35.
30. Most people would never understand that go down there. How long have you had it?
I've only had it about 6 years. It was found on a farm in Martinez in December of 1954. And the gentleman who found it was an engineer for Boeing. He pulled it into the garage and he tinkered with it for 58 years. Never got it running, never put it back together, unfortunately passed away in 2009. I bought it from the family in 2010.
His wife had to have the patience of Job.
She was gone already. I got it from his daughter.
Okay.
But yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
58 years tinkered and didn't get it running.
Yeah.
Guys, if you got the stuff, get it to a home that can get it sold. Get somebody to get some use out of it like Dean did. Now this is
last summer I actually reconnected this with the daughter.
Oh, really?
She played in it as a little girl when she was 6 years old, and she never saw it together and running. So I got her to a show close to her. I gave her a ride. We both cried. It was wonderful.
Great. Now, this is a 28 Chevy.
28
So
Chevy,
we
half-ton.
covered the Fords earlier.
Yes.
And I'm just telling you, this is pretty spectacular, and I think it's really kind of neat you brought it. So
Thank you.
when you had to hear this as they're featuring trucks,
Oh, I had to be there.
you had to be here.
Yes, I have another one at home that I couldn't quite get here, but oh well.
But it's running?
Not yet. I've been working on rebuilding the engine for 6 months.
It's not running, but it's got to be running.
It ran when I parked it.
Very good. Gene, thanks for having it here. Thanks for having it on the show.
Thank you.
I've told all the unusual vehicles we get up to come to the Survivor stuff. I always say it. It's all the original ones. This right here is worth looking at. Estelle's going to hit this with a camera, and I think you'd be pretty impressed. Well, I know if it's going to be a truck event, we're going to see with my old good buddies, Ed and Karen Archer. And Ed has driven this thing here everywhere. We did the 100-year celebration for Chevrolet. I remember calling up Ed, said, Ed, can you bring that truck down? He throws Karen in there. They drive this truck all the way from their house, where I think they live in Newark, drive it all the way down here with these monstrous hard tires. So he has to put some more cushions in that seat for sure. But what a pretty cool truck. Being a 1924 Chevrolet. You can see with the wood in the front, the way it's put together, the lights. And again, like I always say, you know, the original stuff, love survivors. But we'll find our good buddy Ed and Karen around here somewhere and talk to them about it. But take a look at Ed's truck. See if you guys remember that from an episode we did on the 100-year celebration of Chevrolet. Now, this happens to be one of the more of a heavier duty truck, and this is a 1928 Chevrolet, but you will notice it's an early 1928 because it does not have the front brakes on it. Well, there's something else about the whole truck is just cool because I like this stuff because it's just so neat. But options, they had some crazy options. I'm going to show you the technology that they really had in 1928. Now, we get asked really quite a bit about some of this stuff. Some people say it's kind of goofy or interesting items and whatnot. But this right here is something that I've only seen two in my life, and this right here is number two. So this right here actually tells you how many miles per gallon you get on a vehicle. Now, let me kind of explain how this works. There's a hook on the back side here, which I don't want to touch the gentleman's part. This hook hooks onto one of the radius rods on the front of the car. You get one of the fuel lines, hook it up here, go to the carburetor. This right here will go to the fuel tank. Now, you fill this up full of gas right up to where there's a little line right here. You fill this thing up to gas, and then when the gas gets used and used and used, there's another line which is right here. So when the gas gets to that line, you look at your odometer, and that tells you how many miles per gallon you get on the car. I'm telling you, this is how creative these guys get to figure out, but they wanted to know. And you would ask somebody how many miles they get in an older car. I don't know. I never really look nor really care. I just make sure there's enough gas in it to get to point A and point B. But this right here was somebody developed this, and I think that is a pretty cool option. Now we're coming into the era of vehicles that just a little more roundy, a little bit more stylish. This happens to be a 1940 Chevrolet. This is a 3/4 ton truck. What I kind of like about it is that it's been restored, but restored very well to be a driver. You can kind of tell that they use it, and I think that's what these people got to do with a lot of these. You see a lot of the garage queens, trailer queens, and they really have a neat persona about them because you really get a lot about what the car is supposed to look like. Some are overbuilt and overdone. This I don't feel was. Maybe the bed has been stained in the back, but the bumpers look really nice. The spare tires in the back. You can see that the motor under the hood has been used. They run and fire this thing here up, and that's what I think is kind of cool. Seeing a 1940 Chevrolet on the road is really pretty cool. 3/4 ton truck. A lot of guys in the street rod world didn't touch them because they wanted the half ton. They wanted that shorter look, a little more of a racier look. But what they did on this here, they restored it, and these are coming alive. They're coming back, and people are doing them. So if you grab one, these are pretty cool to do. Take a look at this. A 1930 Packard. Now, believe this, back in 1930, this vehicle here, this was the holy grail, probably one of the best built cars of its era for what we call the luxury cars. This is a 7-passenger automobile. The neat part about it is that this car here sold brand new for $5,464. That's a ton of money back then. Even though you look at them today, of course, a different story. You know, figure Fords and Chevys and were a lot less than that in 1930, quite a bit less. But you get a vehicle like this, it's just, they were the way all the cars being hand built, but this, the luxury, the class, the design, being a 7-passenger car, fully closed-in cabin inside. They're really neat. There's a picture on the side window that Estelle's going to go ahead and shoot of the family in 1931 who had the car, and the picture was over in Santa Cruz. What kind of gets me is when you see old vintage pictures, it looks like they're all pissed off. It's kind of funny to see it. Check it out. Great car. Glad to have it here. A lot of luxury cars back in the early years had a lot of different options. And being a luxury car like a Packard, being the top of the line car, this headlight steers right here off of the front steering mechanism, so the headlight, center light, turns with the headlights. This hood ornament is absolutely ultra spectacular. But the history behind this car, every car has a story, which that's what really makes a lot of this so exciting and so interesting to most people. This car right here is a local San Jose sold car. There was a dealership on the Alameda that actually sold the car. The building is actually still there today. So it's really kind of cool to see that this car here is out here being sold, being used. I think it's kind of neat. Back then, this was a pretty big deal. For a Packard Roadster, this car is absolutely just class all the way. This is a fantastic looking automobile. I love the white wheels on the car. Of course, you know, the golf club opening door on that is just really cool. And then when you catch the hood ornament in the front, you see the lady chasing the donut. There used to be a nickname. It's pretty cool. They really knew how to do hood ornaments back in early Packards and Cadillacs and Pierce Arrows, and the list goes on. But I'm telling you, this car right here is absolutely one of my favorites. And it's spectacular. So what's the name of your club?
We're Center Stage Dance Company of Willow Glen, and we are the Miss Marionettes.
The Miss Marionettes. That's the name of the whole group?
Yeah.
That's really pretty cool. That's pretty neat. So you guys are going to do a whole nother gig for us, and we're going to get the music and do the whole thing? You're redoing it specially for me?
I think so. I think that's what we're going to do.
My wife, Susan, do you see that? They're doing something special for me because I missed the early show.
Megan. Grace.
Annika. Emily. Megan.
Sydney. Kendrick. Stacy. Bryn. Hennessy. Marissa. Peyton. Elena.
Working with automotive historians, I mean, I'm telling you, there's a lot of excitement about this, and being involved in the hobby really means a lot. I know we got our Fords, we got our Chevys, we got our Chryslers and all our stuff, but things you don't see every day really would be a 1930 Kissel. Very unusual car, very rare car. It actually had a straight 8 engine, a flathead straight 8. These were phenomenal vehicles built back in the day. And of course, this is the White Eagle, and this right here is kind of very synonymous with a Kissel car. This is a fine example of a Kissel, probably one of the best I've ever seen, really up front and going around it. And I don't think really one's been at this show before. So showing you guys and gals something that's kind of new and exciting and different, I really enjoy that. So, you know, they all see the certain type of cars to see on the show. But when you see something you haven't seen, you get a little time, Google it up, check it out, learn a little bit about it. And that's what the history and the involvement of being around collector cars is all about. This is a pretty neat example of it. Check it out, see some really neat touches. Pretty cool. I want to introduce you all to a car out there we have never seen. It's only been out with their garage maybe once. I have no idea because I've never seen it. My name is Mike Hennessy.
Hi, I'm Chuck Kissel.
Hey, Chuck, how you doing?
I'm fine.
I'm also Chuck Kissel.
And you're Chuck Kissel. Apparently, we got a car called the Kissel, and it's really not named after these guys. And it's just ironic that the car happened. Your last name happens to be Kissel.
Yes.
And did that actually intrigue you for the car at all, out of curiosity?
It did.
If there was a car called a Hennessy, I'd be all over that car. But they don't have a car called a Hennessy. So I guess we're all lucky out there.
But you understand the reason why it's important to us.
Oh, God, I think it's pretty neat. But then the other thing is, you guys found a very, very unusual car. I mean, let alone, I've heard of one. I didn't know how long they made. How long were they in production?
25 years.
And what was the first year?
First year was 1903, right? 1903 to 31. Only a few cars were made in 31.
Okay.
Most ended in 30.
And so this car here happens to be one of the last ones.
This is the last known car off the assembly line.
The last one, and you guys know that
On record.
on record. But you guys,
surviving.
but you guys know that really because you're in a group and a club that actually has a registry for a Kissel registry.
Yes, sir.
Now a lot of people really never heard of one, but you guys made a number. I wasn't sure on how many were out there. You know, I try to think I know everything, but I don't. But they made what, roughly? How many cars you guys think?
35,000.
About roughly 35 or 25?
I think it was 25,000 to 35,000.
How about you guys at home Google it and let us know?
Right.
This is a unique car. Being a straight 8 engine and stuff, I mean, this car here, you said earlier, the thing was kind of, how do I put it, was in the marketing zone of Rolls-Royce because of the luxury of the car?
Yes. Kissel competed with Rolls-Royce to be #1.
I'll be darned. You guys have a lot of history. You're learning about it. It has to be new stuff every day because this is not out there. And this is the first time I've ever seen your car, and it's the first time I've ever seen a Kissel at a show except for Monterey once. Now, how many models of Kissel do they make?
Oh, we don't really know the answer to that.
Wait, Chuck, come on. No. This is the Car Guy channel. Number one is if you don't know the answer, lie.
There's about 5.
That's what car guys do. We call it bench racing. I don't know, 5. But I didn't know how many models they made. I thought the one that I saw was a 2-door. But I could be wrong, but I thought it was a coupe.
They made 2-door coupes. They made the Speedster. They made 5-door sedans. Then those were for the mass production. Then they did taxis and trucks, fire engines, and community.
We don't know how many they
Oh,
made.
really? Okay.
That's
So now, so you saved him. You saved him.
right.
He
We're not
jumped.
sure.
He jumped in. He jumped in. Chuck, you're on.
No.
By the way, I didn't know how this interview was going to go. I really didn't.
We don't know either.
They don't either. But you're passionate about this particular breed of a car. Now, are you guys going to be hunting down any other ones? And since you're kind of involved, you're going to keep out there and look for some more?
I'm looking for a 2-door, the Speedster version. There's a few more out there that I think that aren't known about that I'm going to try to get.
Well, you know,
It needs a little work.
Oh, my shop restores cars. I'm telling you, there's some cars that I don't want to use the word easy, and everybody throw me a crazy email like when I say a Mustang is easy. Nothing's easy to do it right, but the availability of parts. I don't think you get on the phone and call your Kissel dealer and say, you know, I need that hood ornament, you know, for the for the White Eagle. I just don't know if you're going to find that.
No, you have to make everything.
I don't need to introduce this guy, Taylor, because Taylor's been on the show probably more than once. His dad, Tony's been on the show, has great cars. But I got an email from your pop, and he said, you are going to be blown out of the water. You're going to be totally surprised about your new find and your new buy. I'm looking all over for you. I finally found you because I hope you noticed the hat. See the hat?
Yeah.
Good to see you, Taylor.
Definitely, always.
And so you had one car that was supposed to be coming, and I know you guys aren't going to believe this on the Car Guy channel because this never happens before. The car did what happened?
It was a 1919 Stanley steam car, and the main fuel line into the burner broke off.
So what I'm getting at is it broke down.
Yeah.
I love it because our stuff, we're moving cars from my collection one bill to the other. Nothing started. Gas
Yeah,
pedals went to the
always.
floor. Hey, but to talk about your kind of your latest project here, what do you got?
All right, this is a 1911 Maxwell AB Runabout. This was the least expensive model they made that year, and it was also the 3rd best-selling car in America.
Now, you're good. I thought you were pretty knowledgeable because you're a smart guy and you do all your history and stuff. What was the first year of Maxwell?
In 1904, they sold their first car.
And the last year of Maxwell?
In 1925, they were renamed Chrysler.
They're renamed Chrysler. And of course, we were talking earlier about one of the really rare cars that were actually, a guy decided to take a car cross country. Wasn't that it?
Well, in 1909, one of the biggest franchisees of Maxwell wanted to advertise the car by driving one cross country. So he found a early 20s young lady. Her name was Alice Ramsey, and she drove a 1909 model, I think it was a Model Q, across the United States.
Really kind of cool. I thought the only thing they broke was an axle or something.
Yeah, they had repairs along the way, but they went through deserts and over mountains, and they made it.
What people don't understand is when you see all of these vintage cars that we got here today, their roads are paved. I mean,
Yeah.
these cars endured a lot of pretty cool stuff.
I mean, they were made for off-road, and they continue to perform. They all run pretty well if you keep them up.
Now, you do know that you're the honorary youngest member of the NT Car Club.
I was not aware.
I see your dad back there kind of cracking up because I kind of think you are. And how do we get young guys like you involved? But seeing this car here would be pretty exciting, I think.
Yeah, it's always nice to bring it out and share it, and I always find people who get into the hobby just by looking at it.
Sure. Now there's so many types of vintage cars. What made you pick a Maxwell?
Well, Maxwell's interesting because at one point they were one of the most famous and most popular brands, and they were a household name, and now they're not even known by anyone. Oakland was another strange brand. They were one of GM's top sellers. They were the little Cadillac, and then eventually they just died out and became Pontiac.
Well, some people thought Durant had a lot to do with that, but
Yeah.
we're not here to hack on a guy that's already passed away. Did a
Yeah.
lot of stuff for the car industry and whatnot. So now, how many vintage cars do you and your pop have now?
At the moment, 6.
6, geez. Now, of course, with your mechanical ability, you've been growing into this stuff, and you had a T, and you kind of, I think having this right here,
Yeah.
not knocking T's, but this is, to me, the real deal.
Yeah, I've noticed as we have gone along, we've gotten more rare stuff, more complex stuff, and just more insane stuff to drive.
Well, Taylor, it's always a pleasure. It's more than a pleasure having you on the show. You're knowledgeable. You like the stuff. You know, some
Thanks.
people are pushed into it, and I have a feeling that you're into it all the way. And it's doing something with your dad. I don't know. I admire that tremendously. So when Tony sends me an email, I would look at all like day for you. Hey, very good to
right.
see you. We'll do
Thanks.
some
Nice to see
B-roll
you
around
again.
your Maxwell. We'll check this thing here out. It's pretty cool stuff. Get into Maxwell, and it's a lot of fun. We need to get a lot of people, the younger generation, younger people to appreciate the stuff, get into it. That's what this is all about, and that's what the Car Guy channel is all about, to let you guys know.
Hi, this is Joe, and you're watching the Car Guy channel.
I have a hard time saying this on the show every time I walk up to a car and say, this is my favorite car. But this right here is one of my favorite cars. I like the Packard. Of course, you see the Lincolns, you saw the Kissel. But I'm telling you, this car here is just a driver. And Petter, he's one of the main people actually run and put on this event. And you can just tell, it's absolutely fantastic. The weather just does not get better than this. And the hospitality of the Antique Auto Club, they're just so nice to me. We take care of a lot of stuff and get them out there. This is a neat car. Petter brings it, and Estelle's going to get a camera on a little item that's under the hood. These little kind of look like little pitcocks. Well, actually, you put a little bit of gasoline inside these little tiny ports, and you turn it, and that puts gas in the cylinder. It's another way of what you call juice in the motor. My good buddy Joe's been helping us out move cars from one collection to the other. He's been juicing carburetors all day long, so it's been a lot of work. Put juice in there. We get those on the show. Show you this car. Nice car, Petter. Very nice. What an event. What a group of cars we saw today. You know, really, I got to be honest with you. You don't see a Kessel every time you go to a show. Very unique car, and some very cool guys own it. And having their last name being Kessel, it doesn't get any better than that. I couldn't even write the script for that. It was pretty neat seeing all the cars and seeing all the trucks here over at History Park. They do a fantastic job here and what they do for the community to bring in the life and bring back the energy back into vintage and classic cars. We need more of that. We met the young man Taylor, probably the youngest guys ever involved in antique autos. And I'm always proud to see him. And he got a Maxwell this year, which you saw earlier on the show. And it just makes me proud knowing to get some of these young guys here involved into this particular hobby. So I want to tell you very much. Thanks for watching the show. Hey, we'll catch you guys next week for a lot of good stuff. Don't forget sending me any cards and letters about your cars, what's going on, your projects, your high ones, low ones, fast ones. You kind of name it. Get a hold of me over the carguychannel.com, and we'll see you next show.